Well, hello everybody and welcome to Lunchbreak Live. Real talk about obesity, food addiction, recovery, and what's really eating you. I am Cari de la Cruz, back with you for this finally a Friday. Welcome. I am so glad that you are here to join me. My mom, there you are. I'm so glad you made it, and I see all of those hearts floating by, Mama. It might just be you and me today on this show. I'm not really sure if people are going to come back. Let's see. 4. Okay, I see the number 4. I don't see your names yet, but it looks like I have a few people here. Anyway, welcome in. Let's see. I'm going to let the audience build just a little bit here until I can see. Okay, I see Lisa's name popping up. Welcome. Really glad you made it, Lisa. Come on in. Come on in. You know, all right, we're talking today. Let me give you the show title, and then I'll have a little, side chat as the room is filling up. Today's talk is, who am I? The identity crisis question so many of us struggle with. And we say, I can't figure out who I am. So, this comes up quite frequently. A lot of people ask me about it. What do I do? How do I address this? How do I deal with it? I think, boy, this is tricky. I've written a lot of stuff about this, but yesterday's show about support was one that I really struggled with, afterward. I did. And this is part of the frailty that is me, and I may be living my recovery, and I may be working really, really hard to feed the healthiest parts of myself. And, it doesn't always work out perfectly because recovery is not about perfection. And sometimes I still have the self-doubt, where I get crippled and I lose sleep over things. And I say, oh, good heavens, what have I done? I have put myself out there in a big, big way and said things that some people may not like. And that plays to the part of me that wants everybody to like me. The people pleaser in me that doesn't want to disappoint people and wants people to love me. That, we want to be valued and loved and appreciated. I think that's a very healthy human need. But what can happen is it can become very unhealthy when we want to desperately chase others and say, please love me, please show me that you appreciate me, and we become very needy, and it can be very crippling. And so I still struggle with that part of myself where I say, oh my gosh, did I get in the way of the message there? Was that all about me? Did I say something that was unnecessarily offensive? So all of the self-doubt talk comes into my world, and I lose sleep. And let me just say, Mom, before you have to say, honey, you look tired, I'm your mother, I know you. There is not enough makeup on the planet to substitute for sleep. Okay, so, quality sleep, not just the number of hours, but the quality of the sleep, which apparently is a little lacking in my life right now. Not surprisingly, because I lay awake at night and worry about what I've said. So there you go, there's the frailty that is me. So anyway, I thought, wow, today is perfect timing for this show, to talk about the things that I struggle with, I wrestle with, because maybe you'll identify. Then again, maybe you won't. And then I'll have to worry about what I said all over again. No, I won't. That's a waste of time. So, all right, looks like more and more people have shown up. Let me welcome you all in. Ooh, got to move the rubber band on my phone. If you could see this setup, you guys would laugh hysterically. Let's see here. Hi, Mama. You are wearing a yellow ponytail holder, and you thought it was cream white. I love it. Your cataract surgery was a huge success. I'm really happy about that, Mama. Hi, Jerry. Glad you're here. And Marlene and Christy. Okay. Why am I seeing an invite button? Why do I see an invite button? This is really weird. I'm going to click it. What does that mean? Invite Jerry to be... Oh, that's like a new thing. I can invite people to be guests. Okay, well, I'm breaking up? I don't feel like I'm breaking up. I feel pretty solid. Do I need to stop and start over? What do you think? Anyone else having trouble with this connection? It seems strong on my side. Let me know, okay? Let me know if I'm breaking up. Oh gosh, if you don't answer, then that must be I've broken up. Anyone? Am I still here? Huh. It suddenly got very quiet out there. Okay, there's a thumbs up. Okay, words breaking up. Okay, no. Okay, so Jerry, you may have to like crash out and come back in. I'm not really sure. Eek. Okay. All right. Let me just launch into it and see. I'm fine. Okay, so mom's connection's fine. Jerry's connection's not fine. Some thumbs up floating by. All right, well, okay, yeah. Crash out and come back in, Jerry. All right. Let me throw a disclaimer out there beforehand because this is big stuff that we're talking about here. Identity crisis. Who am I? We're talking about how we see ourselves or who we believe ourselves to be. And that's like really, really big, weighty stuff. So I have a disclaimer. All right. Remember, please, I am not a psychologist or any other kind of ageist for that matter. I am not an expert on moral or behavioral development. So when I'm talking about stuff on the show, it's my opinion based on my experiences. That's all it is, okay? So please do not view this as therapy or as me telling you who you are or who you should be, okay? So with that said, the subject of identity, that is one that really seems to come up regularly, especially in the weight loss surgery community, okay? And not that it's unique to this community because I really think that everyone has moments, everyone, where they wonder who they are and why they're here, right? We all have that existential moment where we're like, oh my gosh, why am I here, right? So it's not necessarily unique to people in the weight loss surgery community, but I think in the case of those of us who are treating obesity, because many of us tend to have such strong negative identities, it's a subject that is top of mind, okay? And especially as we physically and mentally transform. The interesting part about this, as I thought about it, I don't really think the physical and mental aspects are tied together, okay? So they don't travel down the road, tracks in perfect unison with one another, which is why there is that disconnect sometimes where we're saying my mind can't keep up with my body and vice versa, okay? So that means that you can lose radical, drastic amounts of weight and look different but not think differently, okay? Or you can change in your thinking without looking different, okay? So the point is those two things are not necessarily connected, and though we think they should be, and we freak out when they're not. And I think that's why there's so much consternation out there. We think, for example, that because the scale says that we weigh a certain number, okay? So the scale says something, therefore we should think a certain way. So by the time the scale says this magic, arbitrary goal number, we are supposed to magically, arbitrarily think like a person who achieves a goal. There's some thought process that has to go along with the number on the scale. That's what we think in our mind. No wonder we are so conflicted. I mean, think about it, you guys. If you are dealing with the disease of obesity and or addiction, so many of us define ourselves as our diseases, don't we? I am fat. We don't say I'm obese. We really, really don't. I am fat. I am an addict. I am a failure. Whatever that is, we define ourselves by our disease. And I don't know that people with cancer say I am cancer. I don't know. Okay, so that does factor into this whole identity, I think. Okay, so think about this. Let's go back with me to a time when you were young, okay? And life was full of promise. Hey, Joshua, I'm glad you joined. All right. When you're young, what is the question that you are asked? I mean, wherever you go by, your teachers. Hi, Natalie, welcome. Teachers, family, friends, everybody, adults. What do they say to you all the time? What do you want to be when you grow up? That's so common, right? And it changes as we grow. I mean, okay, some of us know definitively and it doesn't change. We know what we want to be. But hi, Sean, welcome. Come on in. But some of us say, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a doctor. I want to be, I want to be a football player, whatever it is. We want to be. What do you want to be when you grow up? That is the question that we're asked. But here's the thing. When we lose weight, we say, what will you be when you weigh X? What will you be, or what are you now that you weigh X? So what happened to what do I want to be? Where'd that go? Okay? We just figure that we're supposed to be a certain thing because we weigh a certain thing, right? And I think that adds to the confusion. All right. Maybe we should be asking ourselves who we want to be. Don't you think? Of course, in order to answer that, we have to know who we are. Or at least we have We have to know who we believe we are. That's a really big thing. If we want to know who we want to be, if we want to ask ourselves that, well, don't we kind of have to know who we are or believe ourselves to be? Okay. Sometimes we only know who we aren't, right? So for example, I'm not pretty. I'm not smart. I'm not successful. I'm not thin. I'm not rich. I'm not fill in the blank. So sometimes we know who we aren't. Sometimes we believe we know who we are and it's not who we want to be. I'm fat. I'm ugly. I'm a failure. I'll never succeed. I'm worthless. Okay? Is this making any sense? And then we lose weight. Okay? So what changes between the things that we believe we are and the things we believe we aren't? What changes? A number on the scale. But what happens up here and in here? Did we ever see ourselves honestly before we began to lose weight in the first place? Or did we just have a perception of ourselves that may or may not have even been accurate in the first place? Ooh, this is getting interesting. How many people lose weight and look back at their pictures and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was that big. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I ever looked like that. Ever done that? I have some pictures of myself where I say, oh my gosh, I was not that big there. I cannot believe how fat I thought I was. There's a disconnect between what we really, really look like, whether we think we're bigger than we really are, or we think we're smaller than we really are, but we rarely see ourselves as we truly are. And believe me, the camera added 50 pounds for me, so I don't know. Anyway, whoa! Sorry, that's what I get for moving my chair and moving the box or something. Anyway, we're back. All right. So do we ever really see ourselves as we really are? That's kind of the summation of that. Now, often we see ourselves through the eyes of others, don't we? You know, and it's not always flattering. It's not always flattering, depending on who we're asking or who we're looking to for that image, you know. And sometimes we don't pay attention to the people that see us as we truly are. You know, our loved ones, maybe our mate, our kids. Oh my gosh, our kids, when they're little urchins, they don't see us as fat. They see us as a big fluffy mommy that's fun to rest your head on and you give good hugs, right? My mom who loves me. You know, when we're little, we don't see, you know, we see our dad as a big, strong man that can put us up on his shoulders, or he can be the best horsey ever. Because a bucking bronco, because he's a big, we don't say my dad's fat, my mom's fat. We certainly don't say my mom's ugly. My mom, you've heard me say it, beautiful woman. I just thought my mom was the most beautiful woman in the world, and my friends always said so too. Your mom is so pretty. I know, right? But she didn't believe that, so she didn't listen to my opinion of her any more than I listened to my daughter's opinion of me. You know, I just decided that I was too fat to be a good mom. It's really tragic. So, yeah, we often see ourselves through the unflattering eyes of others, right? You're fat. You're not good enough. Look at you, right? You slob. All right, here's my challenge for you today, okay? If you are one of those people who is screaming that you cannot figure out who you are, let's start with who you were, okay? Start by making a list of your qualities. And I don't care if they're positive or negative. That's not what this is about. This is not judging or criticizing. This is just an assessment, you know, as dispassionately as you can be, but you know, you could pretend you're describing somebody else, but the idea is to get as clear a picture, clear and honest a picture, an image of yourself as you can. I'm not talking about your physical being, okay? I'm not asking you to describe yourself physically right now. I'm talking about the person you know yourself to be, okay? So maybe you're loyal, compassionate, and patient. Maybe you're short-tempered and argumentative. Maybe you're combative and closed-minded. Maybe you are inquisitive and eager to learn. Maybe you're oversensitive and thin-skinned. Maybe you're dramatic and emotional. Maybe you are unemotional and guarded. Maybe you're intelligent and logical. Maybe you are creative and love to dream. Okay? Are you getting it? So put these things down on paper, who you believe yourself to be or who you know yourself to be, okay? These qualities. I'm not asking how you look. I'm asking the things you believe about yourself, good, bad, or indifferent, because this is not about judging or qualifying them qualitatively, saying, oh, this is good, this is bad. I don't care. Just throw it out on the list, all right? Next, ask people you trust what they know about you as a person and write those things down, okay? So say, what do you know me? Who do you know me to be? I don't care, be honest with me. It's okay if it's not very flattering. I just really want to get a sense of who you know me to be. Again, people that you trust, not people that you don't trust or you worry about what they'll say, all right? But the honest people in your life, okay? Sometimes, all right, some of us worry about what honest people will say. Lord knows I do. I say stuff all the time and I think, oh, Lord, maybe that was too honest. All right. It's going to be interesting to see how people see you, don't you think? To see if it matches how you see you. See if any of these things line up. So after you've made your list, look at the qualities and decide if they are things you want to develop and deepen, or if they're things you want to heal, or if they're things you would like to eliminate, or at least minimize. Okay, you don't want them driving your bus, in other words, okay? So in other words, if you're short-tempered, you're like, really don't need that thing driving my bus. I realize that maybe I will always have a little bit of an anger tendency, so I need to be aware of that. I need to be mindful of that. That's something I want to work on. I'm oversensitive. Okay, that's something I really want to work on. It's not all about me. Why do I keep making it all about me? Whatever that is, okay? So let me just tell you some of the things I was and still work on. I was an oversensitive drama queen. I took everything personally, and when I didn't get my way, I made a big scene. I was manipulative and self-righteous. I knew I was smarter than most people and frustrated that most people didn't know it. I liked to make people feel inferior by being superior. I was always very funny, and I wanted people to feel comfortable. I wanted to be liked, and I did not want to let people down. I was a perfectionist and a hard worker. I was also someone who didn't apply myself when I thought I should just know something. I often overachieved so that people would recognize my achievements. I desperately craved recognition, and I wanted to feel safe and valued. I like to be first, and I want to sit in the front row. I love love. I am very romantic. I forgive, but I don't forget. I am scared that people will think less of me if I don't live up to their ideals. I am anxious and high-strung. I am prone to panic, and I fuss a lot. I worry about what people think. I do not like to be silly, and I don't want to be seen when I don't want to be seen. I don't like company dropping in unannounced. I am scared sometimes. Quite a list, huh? Okay, now, first of all, note that none of that had anything to do with my appearance, although that's really big to me. So I have to put this out there. I am fussy, and I spend a lot of time making myself look presentable and attractive. That's very important to me. And when I was not treating my obesity, I did not feel presentable or attractive, even though I spent a ton of time trying to look pretty. I was never satisfied, and I was always disappointed. Okay. If you had asked me to make a list of these things about myself, I would have been paralyzed before I began to live honestly in my recovery and treat my disease of obesity, okay? If you had asked me to write that list, I felt so bad about myself. I felt that I would kill myself if I wrote that list. In other words, it would be death to me to admit out loud those horrible things that made me such a horrible person. That was my thinking. I didn't realize that those things could be healing. I need to know what I'm working with, don't I? Don't I need to have the whole picture? Look, if the house is in dire need of renovation, I need to know if there's termites in the wall. A fresh coat of paint is not going to change that. I need to know if I need to rip the drywall off or the plaster, the lath and plaster, if I need to expose all of the studs and replace them. Yes, it is going to be excruciatingly painful, and I'm going to feel horribly vulnerable exposing my bones in that way, okay? But just putting paint on it, just hanging pretty pictures is not going to address the termite damage or the wood rot or the water damage. Do you understand what I'm saying? The storm damage. I want to have a solid foundation, and I want to have a solid renovated home where I can live in peace. And in order to do that, I need to know the extent of the damage. I need to know what I'm working with, okay? Some things I can put a coat of paint on. Some things the paint's just peeling. I got to sand it down and put on a new coat of paint. Okay? Not everything is going to require you to take it down to the studs. Not everything is going to require you to rip it down to the very foundation. All right? There's still some things that are quite functional, thank you, that you can use. Hey, the windows, I could still see through the windows. I think I'll keep those. Maybe I'll just put new curtains on them. See what I'm saying? So this is an evaluation, but we don't know until we know. So we have to honestly and courageously take this moral and personal inventory of ourselves so we know what we're working with. I will leave you sort of with this story, and then I'll touch base with you guys, okay? One day when I was on my way to support group, bariatric support group, and I'm going to say I was about a year in, something like that. I was about a year into my bariatric afterlife, and I'd lost, I'm just going to say I'd lost like maybe 125, 140 pounds, something like that. I don't know. And I had this like panic attack, like an identity crisis. There I am, you know, in the car speeding down the freeway. Well, it was Southern California, so I couldn't have been speeding that much. But let's just say I was in my car, and I'm like panicking. I'm having this panic attack, and I'm talking out loud, and I say, who am I? Who am I? Where did this come from? Oh my gosh, I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. I need to know who I'm supposed to be. I need to know who I am and what I'm doing. And I had this immense pressure to fill in a bunch of blanks, like I was, you know, sending out a resume or doing an essay test that I was going to get graded on. And I couldn't leave any, you know what they say on the SAT test? Wait, they say leave it blank if you don't know because you won't get counted down. I needed to fill in every single bubble on my little Scantron test, all right? I needed to know the answers, and I couldn't breathe because I felt like a fraud. And I felt like I should know better. This is on the way to support group. It's a good place to have an identity crisis, I want you to know. But fortunately, LA traffic being what it is, and the commute taking about an hour and a half, I had plenty of time to think this one through, and something came over me, and I'm going to call it peace. This peace came over me mixed with a little bit of sadness, all right? I am who I am. That was the message that came through to me, which is not to say it's going to be who I'm going to be. It just means I am who I am. And I can be whoever I want to be, and I can work on the things I don't like about me. So in other words, nothing is permanent. I'm a work in progress. I'm not perfect, and that's okay. No one expects me to be, not even me. I am me, and I want to be the best version of me. What does that look like? Well, I had to make that analysis of myself. I had to sit down and courageously write that list of things about myself. And part of it was my place in the world. Where did I fit in my family? You know, okay, I'm a wife and I'm a mother. I'm a woman, of course. But guess what? I'm not a little girl anymore. Oh, okay, because why? I've changed. I've grown up. I've matured. I'm still a daughter, okay? I'm still mommy's girl. But I'm not daddy's little girl anymore because my daddy, I lost him. That made me sad. See, that's where the sadness comes in. But I was daddy's little girl for a while. You know what? I'm also a teacher, an educator. So I began to look at these things as hats that sometimes we put on and sometimes we take off. And sometimes those hats don't fit anymore. I was a person who was not treating my obesity, but I don't have to wear that hat anymore. I was an addict who was not aware that I was an addict or you know, was scared to know that I was an addict, but I don't have to wear that hat anymore. The hat I get to wear now is recovering addict and someone recovering from obesity. So I don't always have to wear the same hats. Just like, come on, during the winter you wear a stocking cap, but you wear a sun hat during the summer. Do you see? So you put hats on and you take hats off. Some hats feel good and some hats don't. And I look at myself and I go, I do not have a hat face, you know, because I don't have hat hair. All right, so these are the things we begin to learn about ourselves. And hopefully we always have a sense of humor about this, okay? And we laugh about some of the things, and I laugh now about some of the things about myself that I learned that, weren't quite as attractive as I hoped they would be. But knowing these things about myself has enabled me to work on my identity, to become the woman I was born to be. I'm not there yet. I'm not done. I'll never be done. And I'll always be changing. And some things that I could say about myself today, I won't say about myself maybe 10 years down the road any more than I would say those things about myself today that I said about myself 10 years ago. So that's my little message today on a very big subject. And of course, we'll talk about this more because, identity is a big, big thing. But we don't have to fill in all the blanks now. We don't have to know everything about ourselves now. We also don't have to decide who we want to be now. We can look at who we are and decide, well, I want to work on that. I want to be less of that and more of that. Oh, I think I can strengthen that. Ooh, I'm going to spend a little less time on that. All right? And if there's one thing that I could encourage you guys to do is to realize something very, very important. It's not all about you. Okay? It's not all about you. So if you find yourself making it all about you, that's the point in time where you can say, I need to pay attention here because you see, I have just made this all about me. And it really, really wasn't. And if it was about you, it means it must have been time to change something about you and work on it. Okay? So I have text messages coming in left and right. People, I'm on my show. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So let me just scroll back here just a little bit to see who is here, and then I'm going to remind you of your homework, okay? All right. I left off with welcoming Natalie and Sean in. Dave Shoemaker, you joined. Really glad. Is it Schumacher or Shoemaker? I never really know. Bill and Becky. Don't know if it's Bill or Becky. And Mama, you are still you. I think you're a better version of you than you ever were. Anna, hi, your perception is so off. Yeah, it is for a lot of us. It's skewed because we've allowed ourselves to be defined by what we thought we were supposed to be or how we thought we were supposed to look, or for God's sakes, People Magazine, right? Is People Magazine or the celebrities, are they going to tell us who we're supposed to be? Oh, we are so skewed because of all of the incoming messaging. Hey, I would encourage you, if you're one of those people that always flips through those magazines at the Check Stand, the In Touch, and the People Magazines and the Us Weekly, don't do it anymore. Talk about skewing your perspective. That'll do it. Self Magazine's another one. Oh, I don't look like that. Oh, I just want to be myself. Well, who are you? You got to figure out who you are before you figure out who you want to be, right? So I would encourage you to, I know people are going to hate me if they work for these magazines, but don't pick those magazines up because really most of the time they just make you feel worse about yourself. And they skew your perspective. So, Jerry, the scale changes, but then we think we look like everybody else and are normal. I don't want to be normal, I've decided. And I'll never be normal because I don't think anybody's normal. But that's just me. I want to be different. Sean, sometimes it's easier to grasp what we are not than to admit what we really are. Yeah, you know what? Maybe it is safer for us sometimes to say, well, I'm just not a success. What about if I said, what will it take for me to be a success? That's what I want to know. And that takes courage to ask that question. Anna, I need some homework. Yeah, you do. Do that homework. Let's see. I am a queen. Oh, aren't you sweet? I need a crown. So we're the same. For me, it's like buying new tires for an old wreck of a car. Hey, if the car still works, even if it doesn't have all the bells and the whistles that a newer car has, there's some value in knowing and being familiar with that car. And, like my husband's truck is a 93 Ranger that's got 500,000 miles on it. And, it doesn't have a headliner and that poor seat is broken down, but it runs like a champ. And we can put paint on it and we can build up the seat. And he loves the truck and it's very comfortable to him. And yeah, we keep new tires and new brakes on it. And we keep it running. So you work on what matters most, keeping that car going, really. And the tires are very important. And we worry about that more than how it looks right now. All right, then. I rock. Thanks, Martha. I appreciate it. Hey, Tim, glad you made it. Let's see here. Oh, I'm her only daughter, so I better be the best daughter, Martha. I'm just saying. Let's see here. You're blowing off your workout because of me. I know, huh, Tim? You usually only spend 7 minutes at a time with me. I hope it was worth it. But I'm not going to get all worked up over it and worry about what you think. See, that's progress. Let's see here. All righty. Love you, doll from Canada. Well, I love you right back from California. Photoshopping, I know, right? And believe me, I am good at Photoshop. I am good at getting rid of the wrinkles on the printed pieces. I'm just not so good at getting rid of them here on camera. And you know what? That's okay with me. The fact that I have wrinkles means that I am still alive and I've lived long enough to have them. And you know what? That is an amazing gift. Now, the gray hairs are another story. I have lived long enough to have grays, but I don't need to see them to believe it. All right, you guys, it's late. I'm going to sign off and remind you all to, hey, Sarah, you made it just in time for me to sign off. Go back and watch the show. There's homework. Oh, before I sign off, remember your homework. Write down the things about yourself, whether they're good or bad, whether you would call them good or bad, and don't judge them. They just are what they are. All right, make that list. Then ask a few people that you trust how they would describe you. Maybe you can even bounce some of the ideas. Would you say that I'm this? Do you see this in me? Do you see this? If they're struggling, okay? And then sit down and decide what are the things about yourself that you like and want to strengthen and work on. What are some of the things you don't want to strengthen that you would really rather eliminate or mitigate, okay? What are the things that maybe aren't on the list that you would like to work on adding, to this person that you are becoming? And remember, nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. You can be what you want to be, and you don't have to be anyone you don't want to be. I think that's really, really important. So, what do you want to be when you grow up? If you want to be an astronaut, be an astronaut. All right, you guys, I'm going to sign off. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We're going to be celebrating Mother's Day this weekend with Mama because we're going to be gone next weekend. And that's okay because that means not everybody in the world is going to be out there with us. We're going to Red Lobster. All right, you guys. So listen, have a wonderful weekend. I will see you Monday. I'm going to remind you all to have courage, seek peace, embrace joy, and above all, live your recovery. Remember, you can't stop feeding what's eating you if you don't know what's eating you. I will see you Monday. Take care. Remember to share the show.